Hi everyone, it's January 16, 2016, and this is another Emacs Hangout where we get together and have an informal chat about all sorts of things, I guess, that people are up to or learning about the Emacs text editor. It's super informal, so I have no idea what people are going to talk about or, in fact, whether anyone will come. So I'm hoping that the presence of at least one other person, Shakti, who was joined early, means that I have actually not run into the same technical issues that we had last time. But we'll wait and see if anyone else shows up and wants to talk about Emacs. This might get pretty boring for the next couple of minutes. On YouTube, if you're watching this, there's recording afterwards. The YouTube video description should have a link to the timestamps, I guess, to where more discussion actually happens. Anyway, Shakti is back, so at least it's not going to be me talking to myself. And if you're watching this, and you're not quite sure how to join, I think I've posted the links on the event page. You can also join at. I should set up the thing with that shows the URL on the screen. Let me go set that up. In the meantime, I guess we start with introductions and share whatever we want to talk about in terms of Emacs. Hi, I'm Sasha Chua. I'm based in Toronto, and here I am trying to get this stuff off the ground. Okay, all right. There. Okay. Shakti, would you like to go introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Shakti. I am based out of Chennai, India, and I'm currently working on documenting the ETC news of Emacs 25 branch
Wow.
with Ellie and John. Yeah, that's my current work that I'm doing with Emacs.
There are a lot of changes that people have been looking forward to in Emacs 25. What are some of your favorites?
I haven't really tested a lot of the features. Currently, I'm only documenting the changes that are required for the Emacs 25 release. But I've come to about 61% of the file, so I think I still have remaining 39 to complete. So I'm working on that with Ellie and John. They've been giving me some good feedback on how best to document elist functions and how to update the news file, the manual, and so on. So that's been pretty helpful. Yeah, I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm slowly learning.
I've been including some of the etc. news updates in the Emacs News Digest. So it's kind of interesting seeing the changes in terms of user visible functionality and the new Emacs list functions that are going in. So I have to see how that all works out.
I think the manual can be improved. We could probably add more examples, but I think that's going to be something that I want to take it up down the line, or I'll talk to John and Ellie and see what else that they would like me to work on. So my FSF corporate assignment has been done, so I don't have any issues working on it. My employer is fine with that too. So
yay! Thank you for contributing that. When I chatted with John about how people could help, he did mention that documentation is one of those big things, and also contributing tasks and looking into the bugs. It was that massive effort to just review all those bugs that had been filed against Emacs over the years. So that's really something.
So you had recorded a session with John on how he uses GNUs to sort of keep track of bugs, and so I think that was pretty useful. And I started. I've not set up GNUs. I'm still playing around with my email setup, but that's been on my to-do list for a long time. So hopefully I should get to that soon.
Cool. Well, whatever mail client works for people, whether it's in Emacs or not. I like news, but people, of course, have all sorts of other choices as well. Anyway, Joe has joined us. Joe, hi. Would you like to go introduce yourself and share what you've been learning about lately?
Hi, I'm Joe. I've been using Emacs for I don't know, 5 years or so, and I haven't been really trying to learn anything recently. I've just been trying to tweak it and make it my own. Um, well, anyway,
That's
I've
cool.
been tinkering around with my own projects on I work on this one project where my team uses require.js, and it's really hard to manage the imports and there's no real good IDE that can do that for you. So I kind of just sat down and wrote a bunch of Lisp, and yeah, it works for me. But it hasn't really caught on with my team because not everybody uses Emacs. So
That's true. That's true. I mean, it's nice when other people get to share your config and maybe even contribute ideas of their own. But if they're off using a different editor, then they'll just have to reinvent the wheel for themselves.
yeah, at my last company that I worked at, everybody used Emacs, and it was very interesting because they optimized like Perl so that you can navigate the code base like it was Java, like you were in Eclipse or something like that.
Wow, how large was that company? At least how large was your team?
Uh, it was about like 15 engineers. Yeah, and we did pair programming. That was also I think a driver of that. I think if you're when you're pair programming ideas and
Uh, that's
make, make
something
your make your editor do better stuff.
that's something people are always curious about. Like, how do you pair program, considering that Emacs is so, people customize it to their individual preferences down to the key bindings. So
Yep.
how was that like pair programming with all those people using Emacs?
I loved it. It was I just every day and I realized how powerful it was. Just because like I learned about macros. And I learned how easy it was to just like bulk edit a whole bunch of things, and like I realized I was doing it wrong all my life. And then when you pair program with somebody and they show you, oh, there's a better way. You know, it's very eye opening.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have more people joining, which is good because it seems that if you follow the link that I posted, it will ask me if I want to let you in which case I will say yes, and then you'll have this steadily growing party. But anyway, Paul and Sean, would you like to go introduce yourselves? Let's start with Paul. Not sure if your audio is working, but let me go check the text chat to see if anyone's been posting there. Okay. Anyway, if you have any comments or questions, whether you're listening or participating, if you're in the if you're in the video conference, you can use the text chat kind of as a back channel, also handy for pasting links. And if you're outside the video conference, then I'll keep an eye out on the Q&A as well as the whatchamacallit, the event page where people can post comments as well. So we'll see how that all goes. Sean, are you here? Okay. All right. Moving along. People will introduce themselves. I guess when that's sorted out. Yeah. So pairing. It is nice because you learn a lot by looking over someone's shoulder, and it's all the things that people take for granted about their workflow, their configuration that really amazes people. Actually, it's just one of the reasons why I want to encourage more people to do screencasts and demonstrate some of the ways they use Emacs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing they did that made it easier is that every developer area was the same. So everybody had 2 keyboards, 2 mice, 2 monitors, but one computer. And so it was a desk and participate like pretty easily.
Wow.
My kid here is being a little silly right now.
That's cool. That's a nice hardware commitment to pair programming. It is a thing. It's like, having the monitor set up already, having the keyboards. So I guess it's so you said you mentioned two keyboards, so this is not a like a driver. You actually both controlling it at the same time.
Yeah, you're both controlling it like as if it. So like you could accidentally move the mouse and piss the other person off or something like that. But I mean, the thing is that like I mean, if you have a certain process, it really works. Like if you do test-driven development, so somebody says, okay, I'll write a test, and then it's going to break, and then I want somebody to fix the test, and then sorry,
All right.
I have a screaming baby in the
That's cool.
background.
You can always play with a mute and unmute if you're worried about that, but it seems to be all right. Paul, I'm guessing does that mean your audio works? Hi, do you want to go and introduce yourself? Oh no. All right, I'm going to go focus on getting people into the thing because apparently we're still dealing with technical issues. But if you folks can go ahead and chat while I start sweating about the technical details.
Yeah, one thing that it's a big problem that I have with pair programming at work is that I use the Dvorak keyboard layout, and my colleagues use QWERTY, and it becomes a problem if you want to like switch keyboards or even like change the keyboard layout. Then you go to a different system and you're again make sure that you have both the layouts set up.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I have a good solution. that sounds really difficult.
Yeah, it's some users have started to use Emacs, but they use Space Emacs. So I've started to help them out, and they started to enjoy a lot of the Emacs key bindings and especially org mode. I think they just love org mode and Magit especially. But yeah, for me it's a little difficult. We try to do pair programming, but with my keyboard layout, it's just very difficult.
Yeah, I was trying to convince one of my friends about pair programming. He was talking about that he had a Dvorak keyboard also, and that yeah, it's. I mean, you can get like things that you put over a keyboard so that so that you can still kind of figure out the keys. I'm sorry, I have too much noise in the background. I don't think I can.
Yeah, and I'm having technical issues trying to bring people in. But speaking of Dvorak, have you considered maybe using a hardware Dvorak keyboard? I know there's some that will do the switching in the hardware itself, and so you could then theoretically take your lovely Dvorak keyboard and bring it to other people's computers and still have all your key bindings set up.
Yeah, so everyone at work has their own favorite keyboard. So some use mechanical keyboards, some use the Kinesis one. So again, for us, we need to have two sets of keyboards so that people can sort of share and switch using that. So yeah, we're still experimenting, but at least we try to sit together and discuss and try to achieve some aspects of pair programming. But that's been very useful actually. I wish we could do something like that with the Emacs developers, so we understand how they actually go about writing functions, testing functions, or a simple example as how they would take a bug and then solve it. Some kind of screencast, but something that will be interactive would be very nice. Or have some part of the Hangout session to actually show a live coding sessions will be useful.
Yeah, Tmux. People have been using a Tmux, and Teammate, I think, for stuff like that, so that you have kind of your own setup with your own keyboard and everything, and you still have that. You probably want to have some kind of voice back channel if you're doing this entirely over the internet, because otherwise, agreeing on who's going to be typing at the moment can be a little tough. but I think we've seen some nice demos of that before. Okay, all right. I'm going to try inviting people in by email, which is like terrible, but weird things are happening to Google Hangout. I set it up so that it says anyone with a link can join, but anyone without, with a link is like not being able to join, which is crazy. So I don't know what's going on here. Okay, please try that. See if I can get someone else in here. Thomas Worthington. Okay, let's try to add. Do, 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 do.
Hey. Looks like I'm in, Sasha. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I'm going to. Can you go ahead and chat with people while I go figure out how to get Thomas in?
Okay. Where did you say we put our name in it? You said to click something.
There's a Hangout toolbox on the left side. It looks like a red suitcase with a wrench in it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Toolbox. Okay.
And then you would set up something called lower third, but
Okay.
Okay. Thomas received them. All right. Let's see if I can get people to post their email addresses because it's difficult with people with common names. I invited a couple of people that I could disambiguate through Google Plus, but everyone else has been like, how do I find people? So if you haven't been added to the event yet and you're having problems getting in, even with the URL that I posted, post your email address and I can try to invite you in.
That's good. Hey, how come it isn't showing my name? This is weird.
You need to configure it with whatever text you want to show up.
Okay, I'll keep fiddling with it while we wait for other people and you continue with the show. Okay. Rules. Oh, okay.
Man, oh man, Hangouts used to be so much easier to work with. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, this is weird. I'm using Google Chrome, and it tells me this app requires features that my computer and browser don't support. A Google Hangout not supporting Google Chrome. That's weird.
Well, you're coming across loud and clear, so at least there's that.
Okay. Well, I'll forget about putting the name on there.
Okay. All right. I will go back to. Sorry, I know you, but do you want to introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you've been learning about Emacs lately?
Yes, Bill Zimmerly. I visited you in Toronto, and we went to the park with my daughter and her husband and Dave.
Like I said, I know you, but everybody else has like no idea.
Oh, okay. Next person.
Like, how long have you been using Emacs, or what are you into these days?
Who are you talking to?
You, Bill.
Oh, okay. I'd say probably about 6 years, 7 years, something like that.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to check my mail in case anyone has messaged me about getting in. So what do people want to talk about?
I'd like to talk about blogging. I've been reading your book, okay, and I wanted to see how you use Emacs to do your blogging.
Let me see. Let me see if I've got a recent thing here that I posted. Okay. So the basic idea is I just write everything in an org mode file, and then I use org to blog to post it. So, for example, share. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can, perfectly.
So this is basically, well, I might start off with a bit of an outline, things to think about. And then, and of course, this being org mode, it's easy enough to manipulate this outline however I like. Point 1, point 2. and then gradually they turn into paragraphs. And interestingly enough, with org, you can press meta down and meta up to just move entire paragraphs around, right? So once I've gotten to a point where I'm pretty happy with a post, I would use metax org to blog to leave the post subtree. And this is already pre-configured with my blog, which is hosted on WordPress. So all it does is it asks me for the password, or I think I might even have that in my Emacs secrets file, and it posts a draft to my blog so that I can then review it, add images. I think Org2Blog actually has support for uploading images, but I tend to just fiddle with things manually. And then I publish it and it's on my blog. So I really like this kind of workflow of just starting with the text in an org mode file, possibly with outlines and things like that, and then going from there.
So I work a lot with a internal company wiki, and I'm wondering if there's a way to take an org mode kind of thing and post that up to like a wiki kind of page or something like that.
Yeah. Wikis, I'm not sure. I've been using Yaod News for editing the Emacs wiki. There might be similar tools for editing other wikis.
Okay.
Is there a different backend that Org2Blog can export to instead of just WordPress?
I think it supports anything that talks MetaWeblog API, and I know that people use other systems as well, like org Jekyll. So for static, if static site generation is more your thing, then look up org Jekyll, or there might be like a Hackle or something like that. WordPress is the backend I use, so I don't know much about anything else. So anyway, that's kind of my blogging. One of the things that I did before, which is actually quite useful, and I should get back to it, is so I do all these little index card size drawings as well. I actually do them on my computer, so they're technically not index cards. And for a while, back in my old workflow before I switched to being mostly on Linux, I had it kind of organized, the index cards I hadn't blogged about, in an outline, and then I could pick several of those and combine them into a blog post. So that's a little thing that I should get back into at some point too. But this is the idea of accumulating little notes, which you can do with org capture also, and then turning those notes into a blog post, which org mode does very well, especially if you've got source code in there.
Awesome. Hey, Sasha, your video link has dropped out.
Yeah, tech issues all around. I'm going to, okay, so Thomas has just emailed me his email address, so now I can invite him. Someday we're going to get the hang of this, I think. Allow, invite. Okay, so Thomas, you should get an email invitation or some other magical thing that will probably let you in. I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, joy. Okay, all right. Well, that's a different technical issue. My video shows up a split on my side, but I don't know what's going on.
I'm going to see if I can share my screen, okay?
There's a thing on the left side. If you hover over it, there's a green...
The green arrow? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I want to share the entire screen. And then I want to pull up this. Okay. I guess I don't know if you can see that or not. Can you?
Yep, I can see that.
Okay. I'm going to show you what well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to blow it up and see if it fills the full screen. Can you see the whole thing?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, when I first started to learn how to use Emacs, I wanted to create a little cheat sheet because I found their help system a little too complicated for me. So I wanted the cheat sheet to grow with me, and it also helped me learn Emacs Lisp as well. So what I do is I simply go Control C, C. Did you see that pop up on the right?
That's an interesting idea.
Okay. It's just one of many ideas everybody has because Emacs, of course, is so powerful. When I switch over to the other window, okay, I have my entire row of keys set up so that they are shift keys as well. For example, if I hit the F1 key, okay, then I'm able to type other things like my bindings, my journal, my current work, my Emacs file, things like that. So, for example, I'll pull up my .emacs by hitting F1 and then F4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And there's my .emacs. Okay? Are you seeing it okay?
Yep.
Okay, good deal. And then if I bring up my journal, which is the first thing I work on, there it is, and I have all the notes in it.
That's very cool.
Okay, go ahead, I'm
I-
sorry.
I've been slowly building up something like that using Hydra, which has the benefit also of allowing you to kind of add little reminders for the items in your key map or whatever. So that is pretty neat. But I like the idea of having an org file so that is basically your personal reference to the things that you use in Emacs.
Yeah, I've been reading your the story of your life, okay, your blog, and notice that mine goes back to 1986.
Nice.
So I've been keeping log like the same thing, but I don't think I'm ever going to reveal it to the world like you did. Okay.
That's enough.
Alrighty, let's close this up and see if I can go back to. Yeah, there we go. Should you see me now?
Yep.
I'm
And
back.
Puneeth has just joined too. Hi.
Hi everyone.
All right. Okay. So, Puneeth, do you want to go introduce yourself again? And we were just talking about org2blog too, so feel free to talk about stuff.
I live in Bangalore, India. I've been using Emacs for the past 6 or 7 years. And I happen to write the blog, but I no longer maintain it. Though if you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer.
Very cool. Very cool. So, what do people want to talk about?
Okay, can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Right. Hi, I'm Thomas Worthington. I'm in the UK. I've been using Emacs for about 15 years. But strangely, I only really got into digging into it in detail in about the last 6 months. Up till now, I've literally just used it as an editor. I'm a programmer. I work at the University of London, and what I've used Emacs for generally in the past has been working on programming mostly in PHP, and also writing prose using tech. Now that I'm sort of starting to get into trying to do things with it in more detail, I was wondering if anybody has a good book to recommend it. Particularly, I think Mastering Emacs. Has anybody read it? Recommend it? Any thoughts about it?
Haven't read
Already
it.
on it?
I have not.
Right. Okay. Well, that was a pocket review, a very very brief review.
All right. I have read it. Sorry.
All right.
Vicky was kind of sent me a review copy, and it's a really good book for people who are. It doesn't dive into deep customization of Emacs. None of this like how to write your own major mode sort of thing that like a really old book has covered. But it's really more about going from probably 101 to 201, kind of the. You're no longer an absolute beginner who's finding your way around, but you want to learn more about using it for different things that you might not have imagined a text editor can do. So I think it goes into like things like the shell and
Right.
let me dig up the table. Well, the table of contents is available on the thing, but it's very well organized, and you can it's good quality. It's like the way that his blog posts are very readable and useful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So I might pick that up. I bought the Emacs list programming manual, the
An
huge.
actual paper thing.
Yep. 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 And I'm working my way through it, but it's problem with it is it's short on examples, lots of detail, but it's not really laid out as much. Well, it tries to lay it out as a tutorial, but it's not
It's
that sort of thing.
it's
So
really a
I'm in a
reference.
funny sort of situation that I'm an experienced programmer, been programming for 30 odd years, so I don't need this is what a variable is and that sort of stuff. But it's hard to find something on Emacs programming that's like that. I've used Zali
Yeah.
online tutorial, and that's very good. So that's the sort of thing I've been looking around, trying to get my head around how it all works.
I find it like in terms of figuring out how to customize Emacs, or maybe even just finding that one function that you need to call or bind to a key. It's really just finding the source code for something that's similar to what you want to do,
Yeah.
and maybe getting the hang slowly of what things are called.
Yes.
and then you can start searching the source code more efficiently as well. edebug was really super helpful, because then you can trace through the functions and dive into the other functions that they call. That and macro expand, because of course at some point you might run into a macro and then edebug kind of goes a little crazy, but macro expand kind of helps flesh that out a bit further.
Right.
I think I agree with Thomas on that. As a non-native speaker of the English language, I found the manual sometimes to be very abstract, and I wish they had more concrete examples to illustrate the various sections. So it gives users they can quickly try out certain functions or variables or hacks and see how things work, and it also gives them some confidence that they're able to sort of comprehend and test things out and learn from the manual.
Yeah, there's a there's a bit of a cookbook on the Emacs wiki, but the Emacs wiki can be a little bit hit or miss sometimes.
Oh yes.
I think the best way to deal with it is Control H, Control F, and then enter a function name, and just look at how the source code is and keep pouring through the source code.
Yeah, I've been doing quite a lot of that.
Deal with it is Control H, Control F, and then enter a function name, and just look at how the source code is and keep pouring through the source code.
Yeah, I've been doing quite a lot of that.
Deal with it is Control H.
Oh, Brenda, you probably have the Hangout still open in another tab. Is why we're getting that kind of echo.
Thanks.
If you oh, perfect. All right, you finally made it. It's like technical issues. Sorry about that. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself? Share whatever it is you want to talk about.
Oh, sorry. Was I interrupting someone?
No. Well, it all works out anyway. So here we go. We're here.
Well, sorry about that. So I guess I'm a lot like Thomas. I'm a longtime programmer that's been using Emacs for programming, editing, but not so much for org mode. A few months ago, I started using org mode. So I've sort of learned it a little bit at a time. It was actually kind of difficult because all the documentation sort of assumes you want to go in with both feet and just dive right in the deep end, and I just wanted to learn it a little bit at a time, but not, start to build up a big data structure and sort of hamstring myself in the future by doing it wrong. So anyway, there I am. I can set up a pile of to-dos now and traverse them, and I can view them with the agenda, and I can change them between to-do and done and so on. I have a whole pile of tags that I use. I don't think I do much more than that at the moment. Oh, I do scheduling, so I can schedule some of my to-dos and I can see them come up as the time goes by, schedule something for a couple of weeks from now and a couple of weeks from now. I look at my to-do list and there it is, scheduled. Remember to do this. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much to amuse me there.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's kind of like gradual. Maybe start learning by using it as an outline first, and then you introduce to-dos, and then scheduling, and the agendas, and all that stuff. It's definitely much less of an intimidating way to get started with org.
Yeah.
I guess the next step.
Actually,
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
I was thinking the next step, I guess, would be maybe custom agenda commands. So you could play around with, kind of baking your favorite reports right into the shortcuts. But you maybe already started exploring that.
Yeah, I made one already, just to pull up a pile of work to-dos so that my personal stuff doesn't come up in front of my boss. And the next thing is to make up timesheets. So I'm exploring the time recording, the clocking stuff, and I want to be able to make a custom report as well, because the people that keep track of the timesheets want it in a certain format. So I have to try and it's a CSV kind of format, so I have to try and figure that out.
Thomas, are you about to say something?
It's just that I've actually bought as well as buying the list programming manual, I bought the org manual on paper, and I find it, possibly because it's a lot smaller, but I find I've got a lot more use out of it than I have of the list manual so far. So I'm more or less at the same place, I think, as Brenda. I'm maybe a little bit further on because I've been using org mode to track my work time for a couple of years now. It was org mode that sort of broke me out of the pattern of it's just a text editor and into starting to think about it more as a tool with more application. But so I've recently started fiddling with my to-do workflow, so I've defined a couple of new states. So instead of just to-do and done, I've got a with client state, because clients take forever to come back. So it's useful to have a reminder that you have to chase a particular client. And I've also added a cancelled and a transferred to somebody else. So those are a few states, and that was quite easy to add. And like I say, it was in the org manual. It's very straightforward to add those, and very useful to have something that whenever you bring up your agenda, there's that list of here's things that have been sitting with somebody else that you need to pick up the phone and talk to them about. So that's been good. I've just recently did that.
That's great. Yeah, and then I guess the little thing, you've probably already set up like fast to-do selection so that you can select the kind of the waiting state or the delegated state with just a single key after that. Yeah.
I did that last week.
It's really nice to start figuring out all these ways you want to tweak your workflow to get it set up the way you want it to be.
Yeah. And it can be even org mode. It can be sometimes when you go online to try and find things, it can be like getting a drink from the fire hose. There are examples out there. People will put up their org file, their .emacs file or their init file, such as you, Sasha, and you think, oh, this is going to be a fantastic resource. I will read this. And about half an hour later, you're still reading it, and you're only about a quarter way through, and you just need to go and lie down in a dark room because it's all so intimidating of these huge Emacs files that people have been working on for years, and you just go, oh my god. But it's useful. It's useful. I wouldn't like to discourage you, but it can be intimidating.
Oh, absolutely. I guess that's why sometimes people declare Emacs bankruptcy and see what happens when they start from scratch, and then they discover the parts of the workflow that they really cared about, and enough to program back into Emacs. So there's that kind of starting from zero again.
So when I left my company where they heavily use Emacs, I like combed through their gigantic .emacs file, and I learned so much just going through all like somebody else's tools that they thought were useful, and I took all the stuff that I thought was useful, and I put it up on my own kind of Git kind of repository, and hope that I can help other people,
Yeah.
That makes sense. And it's also there's a lot that's missing from just the config, right? It's not just setting a variable or enabling a mode. It's this particular keyboard shortcut is super handy, or this combination of packages works out really well.
So like I even had like certain things where it was like when I'm in this mode, looking at this directory tree, when I compile it will do this compile command versus when I'm in this tree, it will compile a completely different kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one problem that I've found as a PHP programmer, and I would like to say at this point that it's not because I want to be a PHP programmer, they just pay me to do it, but PHP is obviously looked down on, shall we say, by the Emacs community and the Linux community in general, I think, and it can be very patchy, the support for it, partly because the language itself doesn't have a formal definition, which hampers tool building. But that's something I find that sometimes company mode can be a little bit flaky with it because it's it's not sure what way to look things up, and some of the tools depend on they sort of try to use C++ as a fallback, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. So if anybody out there is as unfortunate as me is to have to program in PHP, if they've got any tips to share, that would be good. I've had a lot of success with G tags. G tags has worked quite well with PHP, even though I don't think it actually advertises the fact that it works very well with PHP. But there you go. Anybody? Well, what other languages do people? Maybe we could talk about what languages we have to use if we're programmers. Are we all programmers?
Yeah.
This mix, I guess. I tend to use a lot of JavaScript, but I was curious about PHP. Is that like this web mode panel, stuff like that, or are you the disciplined sort of PHP programmer who can keep the the HTML and the CSS separate from your PHP logic?
They have absolutely down that way lies madness. They have to be separate.
For sure.
I agree.
Yeah. And I mean, unless you're literally writing a one-page application, you have to keep those two things separately. The application we work on in the university isn't an application that we have written. It's called Moodle.
Yeah.
Right, and it's actually from Australia, but we won't hold that against it. So we don't have control of the core framework, as it were. So we have to go with that anyway, and they have separated logic in which, like I say, you must do any sort of web programming. You have to keep the display separate from the logic, or you just go insane.
Yeah. I hear with that. I've been using. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I work with JavaScript, and we use Knockout, and that kind of like sheds JavaScript in markup, and I don't have a very good solution for that in Emacs. I mean, I use web mode, but it's just not good enough.
Right. I tend to use PHP mode. I find web mode, JavaScript particularly, I've had a lot of trouble with it, and in the end, I stuck with PHP mode. And then if I'm doing any JavaScript mode, then I try to put JavaScript in a completely separate file, and, rather than relying on a mode that's trying to be clever enough to switch between contexts mid file. I've never had great success with that.
Yep.
I often have to work with like a single HTML file that has a bit of JavaScript and a bit of CSS and a bit of HTML, and this, this amalgamation gets included somewhere else as part of this snippet. So, and since it's useful for me to be able to just work with it as a single file, what I instead have are some shortcuts to functions that just edit the JavaScript bit. They narrow the region and then they switch to JS2 mode, or they widen and they narrow in the CSS bit and switch to the appropriate mode for that. So I still have web mode for the entire thing if I really want to look at it. But if I know that I'm just going to be focusing on the JavaScript bit, I can focus on that and get all the power of JS2 mode and turn and all those lovely things.
Yeah, but
Okay,
what about
definitely.
if you're trying to load the JavaScript from another, you need the context from some other file or something?
I haven't had a problem with that because I tend to work on these really small self-contained snippets.
Yeah,
So,
just a function. Yeah.
yeah, sorry. I think turn might. I'm not sure if turn will actually be able to understand requires, but that might be something to look into.
Yeah, again, what?
TERN, turn.
Oh, turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love turn for just pure JavaScript. Yeah.
So I've been programming in C, and I also have done some stuff in Python and with Django in the past, and Bash for shell scripting. And Emacs is pretty good for programming in C with C tags and whatnot, shell mode for compiling and so on. Somebody else mentioned different ways of compiling. Could you describe that a bit?
Basically, I just make a custom command that it will run compile the compile list command on the based off of the current mode that I'm in. But it just basically just changes the string input to the compile command. That's all.
Okay.
I got a question for the group. I'm curious where everybody is actually located physically. I'm right in the heartland of America, the Hillsboro, Missouri. Everybody want to say where they're at?
All right. I'm in Ottawa, Ontario, in Canada.
I think Sasha's in Toronto, right?
Yep, I'm in Toronto, and I'm actually just about to post in a text chat links from someone who's been trying to make it into the helpout, but his satellite connection from I will keep introducing, and I will get back to this. Sorry, too many trains of thought thing.
I'm in San Jose, in the Silicon Valley.
Where did you say you are, Joe?
I live in San Jose.
Oh, San Jose, California, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
California, sorry.
Well, I'm in Swindon, which is a town in England, in the UK, but I work in London, in the centre of the city. So it's 1:30 in the morning. In fact, actually, it's 1:45 in the morning here. So I'm very tired.
Wow. I'm telling you, folks should really just get together, because you've got 2 people from India and 1 person from UK. Somebody should organize something that's better suited to your time zones.
Well, actually, what time is it in India?
It's 7:20 a.m. here.
6 here. 5:20.
All right, and I've just posted in text chat some links from Paul Harper, whose satellite connection in the South Sudan is too flaky to deal with Google Hangouts. So we're just like, okay, yeah, because it makes sense. This is kind of a virtual meetup for the people who are having a hard time getting an actual meetup together closer to their places. But yes. Anyway, so sorry. Since the text chat will get posted later, Paul wanted to share his discovery of the week, which is J. Alexander Branham's blog in .emacs. So UT Austin, lots of good posts on Emacs for Markdown, LaTeX, and R. And I will post the links in the notes for this Hangout afterwards. But yes.
Yeah, well, that's a thing maybe we could talk about is discovery of the week. Has anybody got a discovery of the week? I've been using which key mode, I think, the one that well, after you've pressed the first key in a shortcut sequence will give you a prompt as to what possible key sequence you might want to follow that with and what it'll do. I've been finding that useful for reminding me of things that I haven't used very much.
I don't really have like a discovery of the week, but I mean, I just started really getting into using Helm. I actually built my own like tools for like grepping, using grep mode on a code base that I have, and then I found out Helm had like a git grep kind of feature. I was like, there, that's it. That's exactly what I need.
Right.
So I just looked up how to start up Emacs without an init file, and to load up Emacs with a different init file, because I'm learning org mode, but I've also started helping somebody else to learn Emacs, and I've sort of told her about org mode right off, because now that I've discovered org mode, I wish I had started using it right from the beginning. And so she's a young college student, and her professor told her she has to, well, she doesn't have to. She can choose whatever editor she wants, but the one that he uses and the one that he recommends is Emacs. So I was very impressed, and I'm helping her out, and so I'm going to try and set her up with a minimal .emacs file that will at least, let her use a little bit of org mode. So that's my discovery of this week, is how to run Emacs with a different .emacs file.
I was trying to play with Kanban mode. I used to use Emacs Scrum. I used it for a year, and apparently the Kanban mode is not up to date with the org functions. So I'm trying to work with the author to see if we can get up to speed with the org development and sort of use it for managing the day-to-day tasks.
That's the one that shows you a table by task status, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I saw someone asking about that recently, so I hadn't known that it had gotten out of sync with, or I guess with the latest org, things work very differently. So maybe I'll take a look at it too and see what's going on. I remember playing around with it, and then I realized I had way too many tasks left and started. So it was good for seeing that, at least.
Well, I guess I'll take my turn. I'll share my screen. Can you see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
This is what I've been working on this week, is setting up diehards so that when I choose a file, I'm able to run the processor that works with it. So pretty much, I really like this PDF viewer. I don't know how it's pronounced. It looks like it's Zathura. Okay, but I wanted diehards so that it'll execute stuff without me having to type in what the processor is. And so here's where I pre-configure them. That's my discovery for the week.
Okay, that's interesting.
Regarding Kanban, Handpiece from the Emacs channel says that Handpiece has had some success using org mode tables as Kanban boards for individual projects. So I guess even without the Kanban package, you could just kind of manually move things around and organize it that way. But maybe there's a if the dedicated package is kind of broken at the moment, tables will be a workaround. There's you can use column view, I think, maybe even to start looking at your to-dos and filter them.
So the one thing I liked with the original implementation of the Kanban mode is that you have your org entries and you keep updating the states in those respective text entries. And as soon as you go to the table and you hit Control C, it automatically updates the task on the board without you having to explicitly move them around. And I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, that sounds kind of magical. But yeah, cool.
At the university, we use Pivotal Tracker for our Scrum, and I find that the Pivotal Tracker mode in Emacs is actually quite good for reading that. Of course, a lot of the problems, or one of the problems that we have a lot with Emacs is that we are in a team, and not everybody wants to use. Nobody, not only me, really. I'm the only one that's using Emacs, and so things that would solve problems for me don't necessarily fit into the team. So the pivotal mode interacts with a central tool that everybody can see, so that's quite useful that way. I presume the Kanban mode wouldn't have any sort of export that would be useful to the others.
If you're actually using Scrum, I would definitely recommend trying the Emacs-Scrum package. It's the author has been pretty responsive for the feedback that I've given and for the issues that I reported to him. And you can actually see your burn down charts. They are rendered using GNU plot. So you will be able to sort of quickly see the current tasks that you have in progress, and it'll give you the tables of what your estimated time was and how much time you spent. All those calculations are actually provided to you by default, and you only have to maintain your stuff to do entries. So if you actually use Scrum, I would definitely recommend trying the Emacs Scrum tool. I used it for a year, but then I realized I was doing more of Kanban than actually doing Scrum. But yeah, I mean, I'm still experimenting with different modes, so you should probably give it a try.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good advice. That's good advice.
At my company, we use Jira, so you just made me think, oh, maybe there's a Jira thing, and I just looked at the packages and found it. It's amazing how many different things there are.
There is a Jira mode in Emacs, so you can actually pull down your issues into an org entry. Yeah, I haven't tried it out yet, but yeah, we use Jira as well. So.
I'm going to try it right now.
How do you spell Jira?
Jira. I'll put it in the text chat.
Okay, thank you.
My totally tiny discovery was I use org ASCII export to turn the Emacs news things into something that I feel comfortable pasting into the Emacs Tangents news group. And turns out there's a variable that you can set to not make it wrap long lines. So that's something I've just added to my config, and I'm looking forward to trying it out soon. It's called org ASCII text width. And if I set that, then when I export to ASCII, it just doesn't wrap.
Okay.
I think I only found that because, well, somebody had asked me to kind of try to not break the links, not wrap too much. And it was one of those things I didn't know what it was called, but I basically just jumped around in the org ASCII Emacs Lisp file and tried to search for things it might be called. So probably just looking at customize would have been easier. Customize is a great way to see the user customizable options without having to search too much, I guess.
I'm still trying to get the hang of the Google Hangout.
Aren't we all? Which reminds me, I should keep checking if people are trying to get in and are having problems.
I kept seeing the things that yours are popping up, and I'm wondering, where's that coming from? Then I finally clicked the chat thing, and now I see it. That's a pretty good link. I like that Emacs Scrum thing. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the other thing that I've had trouble with in the team is that, of course, the university has switched to Outlook 365 or Office 365, whatever it is. So I keep getting these invites to meetings, and they're not in org format, which I think is very inconsiderate of them, and I've sort of got. I'm halfway there. I'm using MU4E or whatever way that's pronounced, and I've got. There is an option built into Emacs to import an iCalendar invite into the diary, but that doesn't reply with an accept or whatever. So I end up having to import things into the diary and then go to my browser and open Office 365 and accept the invite there. And then, of course, sometimes I forget to do that, and sometimes I forget to do the other one, and then so I don't have a coherent diary until I go into the Office, and I hate Office 365 with a passion. So I've been trying to. I thought this would be a really easy thing to do because I knew GNU's will allow you to accept invites. And I thought, oh well, I'll just steal the code. Didn't work out that way. turned out to be quite a lot of dependencies on other GNU functions. So that's something I would really like to get sorted out in the next month or so, as I start to get to grips with the Lisp. Unless somebody's going to leap out here now and go, oh no, I've already fixed that, but I suspect nobody has.
I didn't even know that GNU could do such a thing, so I will dig into that too. Can it? It's something worth investigating.
No, it can. It definitely can. The code's in there. I have read that code. Unfortunately, I read that code about 3 days after I converted 10 years of email into Mu. So I'd sort of committed myself to Mu, and now I don't really feel like switching to GNU's, or at least not until I've given it a good try to implement the function.
Oh yeah, so it is. This thing looks promising. GNU's calendar under iCal event. It also mentions something about exporting to org mode, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Paul, thanks for joining us. If your audio or the uplink is a bit wonky, there's still the text chat if you like, and I'll periodically read things out and mention them. I'll post a text chat as well afterwards so people can take advantage of the links. I posted you the links that you sent me by email, by the way, so I copied the paragraph from there.
So I think, Joe, you said you were using Helm mode. A question about Helm mode, which is how do you cope with the way it takes over the tab key? Because that's what's kept me out of Helm up to now.
Yeah, it's basically that answer. You stop using tab for completion and you just start using other things for completion instead.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I've had other problems too though, because like I'll sometimes want to like jump around between things I'm typing in the mini buffer, and it doesn't ever do exactly what I want. Like if I want to jump back a word or something like that, like it's I don't know, it's not as not ideal. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the fact that you use tab completion outside of Emacs so much, at least if you're on Linux. You know, you use it on Bash command line, you use it in MySQL, you use it all over the place.
Yeah, I use it for everything but Helm.
Yeah,
Since we are talking about Helm mode, is there a way by which we can set the keyboard layout that we use in Helm, even if you change the keyboard layout in the other buffers? For example, if I use my own native language to key in text in one of the buffers, and then I want to use just English in the Helm mode, is there a way to sort of force it to not change or respect the change in the keyboard layout?
Oh, like setting the input method. I wonder if that's something you can set as a hook. Let's go find out.
it's not something I've thought of doing.
I haven't looked into that either, but there might be a hook that you can run at the for the Helm buffers itself, or the mini buffer, I guess, when Helm is engaged, in order to switch that input method. Let's see.
Oh, what's Bill doing?
What I was doing was I have a Kindle Fire, okay, and there's a really nice secure shell program available on it, SSH Audit, and I was showing my Emacs session that I was working on while we were talking there. Very cool tool. I like it. And there's the whole page without the keyboard. Whoops. Yeah,
nice.
Without the keyboard. I don't know if it can be. There we go.
Yeah. How usable do you find it? I mean, I guess with a soft keyboard, I think there are some keyboards some virtual keyboards that will emulate the full, control keys and everything. So.
Well, I don't like the soft keyboard much, so I use this little backlit Bluetooth keyboard.
That's tiny.
Yeah, it's tiny. It works really well too. I just type away like this, the old thumb typing. A lot of fun, and very, very portable.
I've got SSH on my Android, or what's it, whatever. Oh, it's a Samsung Galaxy, and occasionally I've used it to log into work to restart a server that's gone mad, but I've never tried using Emacs on it. It's just a little bit too small, I think, for that. I think try and get all the special keys.
Yeah, I think the Kindle Fire is just right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brenda.
Sorry, I've got a Galaxy as well, and the volume keys, which are used to do the control keys, they broke, so I can't do control keys anymore.
I've heard that is a problem with the Galaxy, that the volume keys can break very easily.
Yeah. So I want to get a smaller phone, but they don't sell any unless they're Apple iPhones. Too bad for me.
Since we are talking of mobile devices, can people share their workflow of like getting their to-do items from org mode into like a mobile reminder or something? Like basically, how do people sync their to-do items from org mode to mobile devices? Does anyone have a good workflow for that?
Well, I'm going to say no.
Go ahead.
I don't have a mobile workflow. The closest I've got is that I have now switched to using Emacs Server. So when I go into work, I work on my machine in the office, but my org is back here in the house. I just open a client on the machine in the office. And wherever I happen to be, I can connect through. So I always have one centralized org file and one centralized email, which is very useful. But that's about as close to a mobile workflow as I've come.
I trust the mobile devices too much, so I don't want to keep my personal stuff on the mobile devices. So I always have my laptop at work and I have one at home, and I just have all my to-dos on the laptop. But I do have a USB disk that I sync often as backup in case I lose the hard disk on the laptop. But I don't use anything on the mobile.
Apparently, org agenda has a built-in export command, so E is a shortcut for that. If you've predefined some exportable agendas in your org agenda custom commands, it's like one of the parameters in the list, and it will then export that agenda to the specified file. So theoretically, I've got that set up, and Dropbox will synchronize it to my phone, but I've never actually referred to the files yet, so I don't know whether this is entirely all that useful. I guess just because when I'm out, I'm usually only out for a specific errand or something like that, and I don't really need to look things up that often. As for getting things back in, I used to have sometimes I still take notes with Evernote, and on Windows I used Nscript to extract those notes and then massage them into a form I could import into my org file with a little bit of Emacs Lisp. But since Evernote's been a bit of a hassle for me on Linux now, I've been using this little tasker script that I have that just prompts me for a few keywords, and then it saves it into a file, into a text file, timestamped also in a Dropbox synchronized folder. And then I have a little bit of Emacs Lisp to read that directory and extract the notes from the file and just put it into my journal somewhere.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably take a look at the export. Yeah, mostly I'm looking at read-only things. Like basically, I want to look at something that I want to do. I usually don't have the need to add new to items, but yeah, thanks.
The other thing I do outside of Emacs is I do use SHFS quite a lot on the move, so that I can
I was
mount.
looking at someone's had this project to kind of view and maybe even collaboratively edit an org file using a browser. So I'm going to paste a text chat in. So I'm pasting the link into the text chat. It looks promising. I haven't gotten around to getting him to demo the collaboration aspect to me yet, but I understand he's done several talks on this before. So yeah, it's a thing that it doesn't do the full org
Emacs Hangout
syntax,
चल रहा है काश मैं ये कर
if you look into it and then you look at the source code, you'll recognize it as an org mode or org style file. So that might be another approach, kind of just having a web server that can understand org files and view it from there. Worst case scenario is GitHub will look at your public org files and parse them into something readable. And I just realized I had my computer in mute, so I was probably accidentally talking over somebody else. How embarrassing. I don't know what's going on, but yes.
That's all right. It's technology.
Sorry if I accidentally interrupted someone earlier.
No, I was just saying that I use SSHFS to mount the wherever I happen to be. I mount the drive on my machine at home, whether I'm on my laptop or on my office machine, and I use that as my own sort of Dropbox sort of thing. As if I create a file on the laptop or in the office, I can just copy it onto my machine here in the house as if it was a drive. So I've not got into doing things with Dropbox and things because I find that that's been good enough for me. I don't generally need to share stuff unless it's by email. So that's how I've coped with making sure that I've always got a copy of something I've done on the move. It's also how I also listen to my music collection wherever I happen to be because I just mount the music directory on the computer in the house.
Okay, so that wasn't just my computer being on mute. That was just everyone being quiet. Yeah, mobile doesn't seem to be like a solved problem yet. But I guess, thinking of it as that file synchronization using SSHFS or even Git or some other. I think there's some kind of three-way merge type things that try to resolve conflicts. I guess those approaches might be fine too.
Yeah.
So there's a problem I've been thinking of. We try and support our customers with screen shares, and we really only need terminal-style screen shares. But of course, we have to use these WebRTC things that converts your screen into some kind of graphics format and then back again, and the resolution is maybe not great, and you can't cut and paste and all that kind of thing. So I wonder if Emacs could be used. Put it up on a public server, just an Emacs server or whatever, and somehow have two people access it, and one person can, run a shell and then somehow SSH to a. I'm just not sure how that would work with, local and remote terminals and so on. Anyway, something I could. Sorry?
If you're kind of person behind the firewall or whatever can SSH out, then that's often that often also means the ability to establish an SSH tunnel so people can make a connection back. And I think that's how Tmate works, where sorry, let me just put that in because it's TMATE.
Right.
There have been some demonstrations of using Tmate to very quickly set up a pair programming session. It'll give you an SSH kind of command line, and you can share that with anyone that you want to have full read-write access to it. You also get a read-only access if you just want people to be able to view without messing around with what you're typing in. And if you Google for Emacs and Tmate or Emacs and pair programming, I might have actually. It's been in one of these Hangouts, I think.
Yeah,
I might have notes for that one.
I'll have a look. Thanks for the pointer.
But yeah, like having just a VPS that both people can SSH to. Like the SSH part is a tricky bit, because sometimes firewalls will block that as well. But if SSH out is possible, then that might be an option.
I could try and have them SSH out on port 443.
Yeah.
A lot of success just having like a VNC session or something like that, where you're just logging into the same machine.
Yeah, I was going to suggest the VNC as well, and it can be tunneled through SSH just as easily too.
Yes, well, VNC is one of those graphical formats, isn't it?
Yes.
I just want to avoid all that overhead you know, it's another layer that can go wrong. I just want plain text. We're not trying to look at each other's faces. We just want to see the screen. Looking at.
You're just sharing the desktop. That's all.
Yeah.
Like,
Let me do a demonstration real quick. Okay. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. All right. I'm going to expand this. And can you see my screen? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's super clear. Nice big font.
Whoops. What am I doing? Whoa. All right. I'm going to just kill the session there, like that. Okay. What I want to do is open a VNC connection to a server that I administer in California. So I simply type in that. Okay, it's Doctors Only is the name of it. Okay, and okay, now I do. Okay, do you see that? We got a terminal up here, and we have a terminal down here.
I'm just seeing you,
Is it
Bill.
just, yeah, I think your screen sharing's off, or it turned off or something.
Oh, it might have gone off. Okay, let me check. Yeah, it looks like it might have. Okay, let's see if I can try it again here. Can you see? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, now that is a VNC session with a computer that's halfway across the country, and I can share these windows with a person in their office. So it works beautifully. I really like VNC. And as you can see here, it's tunneled through SSH, so it works real nice. Here's the script. There's really nothing to it. Establish the tunnel, and then at the very bottom, open up the GNC viewer.
Okay.
Your screen sharing's gone off again.
Oh well. Gotta love technology. It looks like it has. Oh well, we'll leave it at that.
I have to say I've had a lot of success with VNC, and the fact that you can, on the command line, you can just type in the via and it'll build a tunnel for you. Very straightforward. I have had a little bit of trouble sometimes cutting and pasting from one end to the other, but generally it's worked well.
Okay. I've pasted in read-only, I think, SSH link in the text chat. So if you want a quick teammate demo, if you SSH to that address, you should be able to get in and see the Emacs, thing that I've just started. It's read-only, so you won't be able to mess around with it. But if you look on the teammate website, it'll tell you how to set up a read-write session so people can interact or type at the same time. So let me share. Oops. Let me share what that looks like on my side. One of these things. Photosync. Oh, okay. Yep. Okay. So this is my screen, and I see that someone has joined.
Probably me.
Yep. And it's basically, you should see the Emacs standard Emacs thing. Hang on a sec. I have too many things going on here. Okay, here we go. So if I go to the scratch buffer, I loaded this up without any of my configs, so I have no idea what's there. But you can see me type "Hello World," for example.
Neat.
And to start that, all I did was type teammate and then teammate show messages, and it showed me the URL to copy and paste.
Okay.
Sorry, the SSH hostname thing to copy and paste.
Huh. So within Emacs, you can run a shell or whatever, and from there.
You would start it in the console. You could basically run any console application. It doesn't have to be Emacs. But if you're giving people read-write access, then you can use Emacs or whatever else for text. I don't know. Up to you.
Okay.
And yeah, and then it's, well, maybe I won't do an ls, but that's the basic idea. You can then yeah.
Thanks. How do I exit?
Somebody has managed to exit, so whoever it is has figured out how to exit. Maybe it's a Control D, the
Yeah.
standard sort of thing.
I used tilde and dot to exit. I posted in the chat.
Maybe if you don't have right permission, you can't exit.
Control C? I don't know.
No. Nothing.
You can use tilde and dot to exit. I posted it in the chat.
Tilde.
Tilde.
Tilde and full stop. Yeah.
Tilde full stop.
Yeah.
There we go. That's it.
All right.
Thanks.
Stuff that again, I've only just seen this, so this is my first time playing with it too. It looks promising.
Yes. So that would be good if I want to show somebody something, but then if I want them to show me something, which
They would have to install it, which is hard for people.
Can be hard for people, yes.
I mean, yeah, you do install, but yeah.
Especially getting non-Emacs users to use Emacs. Ha 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 ha, dream on.
It doesn't have to be Emacs, right? You know, it's a console. And if you give them instructions to give you once they've got Teammate installed, and you give them instructions to start the Teammate session, and they give you the read-write session, like the read-write SSH URL, then you can just the SSH domain, then you can just control it for them, or something of the sort.
Okay.
Sasha, I tried to run the SSH.
I
tried to run the SSH connection that you provided,
yeah.
and it asked for a password. I don't know if you mentioned that or not, but I couldn't get in without a password.
Did it ask anyone else for a password?
No.
No. Okay. Do you maybe is it just the? It just? It probably is just saying I don't recognize this SSH key.
Right. It's the public key that's missing.
Okay. All right. So you can just say yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, cool stuff. It'll be interesting to see if people use it for Emacs pair programming, because you know you've got your keyboard and everything, but you still have to get used to other people's key bindings and configuration. So we'll see how all that stuff works out. I'm probably going to be winding up here since I'm going to be trying to get to bed somewhat early tonight. But thanks for coming to this Emacs Hangout, and it'd be nice to see if I or somebody else, ideally, can organize something in the future, maybe in a different time zone, or time zone thing. So anything goes. But thanks for being part of this and sharing what you learned.
Oh, thanks for organizing, Sasha.
Thank you, Sasha, and thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
I'll post the recording's already available on YouTube.
Thank you.
I'll post a text chat soon.
Okay, hanging up.
Nice to meet y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you.
Nice
Bye.
to see you too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Copying. Oh, and remembering to stop the broadcast. Bye, all.